But it has been a week where for many of us, a nightmare has come true. And many of you heard me say that I was not going to preach on today because it was my birthday weekend. But then Tuesday happened. Y'all know how I am about these things. So I had to abridge my festivities so that we can have a conversation today about where we go from here. Amen. There is a word found in the book of Exodus chapter 1, the second book of the Bible, the first chapter of that second book, the 8th verse. When you have it, say amen. Amen. If not, you can say hold up. Amen. It seems that we're all together. You'll find these words penned in the book of Exodus, translated from Hebrew into English this way. Now a new king arose over Egypt who did not know Joseph. He said to his people, look, the Israelite people are more numerous and more powerful than we. Come, let us deal shrewdly with them, or they will increase and invent, and in the event of war, join our enemies and fight against us and escape from the land. Yeah. Therefore, they set taskmasters over them to oppress them with forced labor. They built supply cities, Pithom and Ramses, for Pharaoh. But the more they were oppressed, the more they multiplied and spread, so that the Egyptians came to dread the Israelites. Verse 15. The king of Egypt said to the Hebrew midwives, one of them was named Shiphrah and the other Puah. When you act as midwives to the Hebrew women and see them on the birth stool, if it is a boy, kill him. If it is a girl, she shall live. But the midwives feared God. Amen. They did not do as the king of Egypt commanded them, but they let the boys live. Amen. Now a new king arose over Egypt who did not know Joseph. Yeah. For time is ours to share, I want to think on the thought, what to do when they take their country back. Oh boy. Come on. Oh boy. What to do when they take their country back. Yes. Preach it. Come on. And there was a Pharaoh who arose over Egypt who did not know Joseph. It is clear, and many of us feel this deep in our core. Many of us have been shocked into some type of comatose when we woke up Wednesday morning to discover that the America that we thought we had outgrown had found its way back into the public scene. Excellent point. It is very interesting that on Wednesday, what hurt us the most is not that our candidate lost, because we've lost elections before. But there was something more consequential about this election. Every election carries life-altering consequences, but there's something about the mood that this election has created for our nation, knowing that we were dealt two flawed candidates. Yeah. All right. Knowing that they both had disastrous unfavorables. Yes. One of them just seemed more dangerous than the other. Right. Yeah, good point. And it seems that this is not simply fear or despondency for having lost an election, but something more vital, something more necessary was on the line on Tuesday. Yes. Yeah. And what was on the line was the moral identity and the ethical health of our nation. Yeah. Oh boy. Because what we discovered, we didn't find out on Tuesday. Many of us went to bed on Tuesday hoping that some way those votes that were coming in those battleground states would somehow put her over. That many of us had that, not all of us, I do not dare to make that assumption, but many of us wanted to wake up and to find out that something had transpired, a miracle had taken place, that Trump would not be the president of the United States as 45. Many of us left, but Wednesday we woke up and we were greeted with great alarm. And there was something that, at least speaking for myself, something that besieged me to the point that it felt like something in my life had died. Yeah. There was this overwhelming sense of grief that was not quite anger and not quite sadness and not quite hopelessness, but an admixture of all of those things, because it felt as if I had lost something that I loved the moment I woke up and realized that the presidency had gone a different way. Yeah. I'm being very honest with you today that something did die in this country on Wednesday. Yes. Something that we hope to be true, something that we long for, something that we hope and pray for. Many of us have gone into battle and sacrifice for. We wanted who America says it is to be true. We want who America says it is on paper to be who America is in reality. On paper, America is about democracy and justice and freedom and prosperity, but that's on paper. But in real life, America is seemingly more about sexism and racism and separatism and homophobia and Islamophobia. We woke up because a dream that we had of America had died. There was something about us that because we elected the first black president, maybe something in us was convinced that America had outgrown its birth defect, had outgrown its original sin. But the reality is the long shadow of slavery still casts its wide glare over the reality of who this country is. And that is what happened this week. This week was just an attempt, a successful attempt of a segment of this country to take it back, to reclaim it, to make it great again, which we know to make it great again is just code language and dog whistle for make it male again and make it white again and make it only Christian again. But I need somebody in this building to know that America can be who it says she is on paper only if we have the courage to critique her, only if we have the courage to push back against her, only if we have the courage to let the country know you can't just treat us any kind of way simply because we do not look like you, talk like you, or fit into the boxes that you want us to fit into. I know it may not sound patriotic to many of you, but I practice a different type of patriotism. I practice the type of patriotism that says I love America so much that I reserve the right to critique her whenever she needs to be critiqued. I love America so much that I will always push her and yell at her and declare to her that we just need you to be who you say you are on paper. If you're about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, we need to see that in real life, because I need some of us to know it here today. It's not patriotism if you just let the country do whatever it wants to do to you, because that's not real love. When you love somebody, you want them to be better than they've ever been. You want them to grow stronger than they've ever been. You want them to be more courageous than they've ever been. And I don't live in some delusional romance with this country, but I live in the type of love affair with America that if you say you can be one thing, I'm going to say everything I need to say, do everything I need to do, practice whatever I need to practice in order for this country to treat all of its citizens with dignity and respect and honor and with grace. Is there anybody in the building today that can say, I really know that today more than any other day that I need to let America know that I will not take this lying down, because they still need to know that black lives matter and brown lives matter and poor lives matter and abused lives matter. Is there anybody in the building today that can say this country don't hear from me? I refuse to go through 4 years of living under the boot of the oppressor. I refuse to go through 4 years of allowing my enemies to take advantage of me and to determine who I am, because at the end of the day, I know who I really am, and I am not. Before I was ever an American, I was a child of God. Before I was ever a Democrat or a Republican, I was birthed in the image of the Most High God. And I wonder if there are any people in the building today that can say, I know who I am, and I refuse to go through 4 years of hell when I need some help. Here, in our text today, we encounter a dynamic shift from the flourishing and thriving of the Hebrew immigrants in Egypt into a system of social control and slavery. The children of Israel had been coexisting, commingling with the Egyptians for all this time. It said after Joseph rose to power, you remember Joseph was number 2 to Pharaoh when Joseph was in army, was in service. And here is Joseph, number 2 in his community. Here is Joseph, second in command, and he's not an Egyptian, he's a Hebrew. And because of his diligence, and because of his commitment, and because of his power, he's able to create policies where all people, regardless of their skin color, their ethnicity, or the faith they practice, were able to exist in one space. It's because of Joseph's authority and Joseph's leadership and Joseph's dream that Egypt was able to be a melting pot where difference was not demonized, but difference was actually valued. And here's one of the fears I have in living in this country that has been taken back by a certain segment of the community, that it will no longer value difference, and it will begin to demonize difference instead of understanding and lifting difference. Because when they say they want to take it back, what they're really saying is that we want it to look like me and sound like me and think like me, and we want to live in a world where I don't have to dumb down who I am in order to fit into boxes that are too small for me in the first place. Because if God wanted us all to look alike and be alike, then God would have made us alike. But God made me distinctly different. God gave me a wide nose. God gave me kinky hair. God gave me dark skin, because there was something about all of that that represented his image. And I wonder if there's anybody else in the building today that can say, I'm not going to let anybody make me feel badly about how different I am, because God defines divinity in difference. Anybody in the building today that can say, I might be different, but I'm not deficient. I might be different, but that's just because I don't look like you, talk like you, haven't been educated like you, I don't have the same mores that you have, does not mean there is not room for me in the world and in God's kingdom. Can I get a few witnesses in here today? Here, the king of Egypt says to his people, he says, these minorities are getting too free. These minorities are getting too large. You heard the scripture, man. They flourished. They grew. They became more fruitful. They became strong. And Pharaoh says, we need to do something about them before they take the country away from us. I wish you all caught the connection. I'm really just preaching Bible. I hadn't talked about the Tea Party or Donald Trump yet since the introduction, but it sure does sound like America, does it not? Here's this Pharaoh, this new king who is so insecure about his structure and his power that he's willing to subjugate and marginalize a large segment of his community in order to maintain power that's not really his in the first place. Somebody should have gotten an amen on that one right there. Let me say my 3 things. I'm going to go to my seat. First thing I want to say here is that if you're going to survive this reclamation of America by a certain segment of community of this nation, you need to first learn that insecurities increase injustices. I'm going to say it again. Insecurities increase injustices. I want you to understand that the stuff that's going on within you is not victimless, but sometimes it's the inferiority that we allow to live inside of us that creates problems for other people. I need to pause right here before I get back to my justice point, and that some of us have been victims to other people's insecurities. Some of us have lost our own sense of self because we tried to be who other people wanted us to be in order to make them feel good about what they were going through instead of standing up and being resolute about who we are. That's what's going on in this text. Pharaoh has some insecurities. Pharaoh knows that although he has a position, he may not necessarily have power. Although he has a title, he doesn't necessarily have authority. And so in order for him to maintain his authority, he has to get rid of and control the people who he thinks threatens his authority. I don't want you to miss this because when you look at the crevices of the text, you will find no indication that the Hebrews are posing any threat to the Egyptians. It's just all in their minds. That nothing has been done to them. It's just all in their minds. Most of us don't live in rural areas anyway, and we're not coming to take your jobs because we don't live where you live. But it's all in their minds, and they feel they have to control us in order for them to maintain a sense of self, which was weak in the first place. And this is why I'm asking God to deliver me from people with fragile egos and insecure identities, because I'm not trying to be a victim to the civil war that's going on within you. You do know that's what happened this week when they showed up to the polls. 53% of white women, 64% of white men decided that they were going to take their country back by putting in office a man who was unprepared for every debate, a man who didn't know anything about foreign policy, a man who cared more about Putin than he did about our president, a man who's in the pocket of Russia and wouldn't release his tax returns because we would have found out how close he and Putin were in the first place. Who's a bigot? Who's a... Why do I want a president who goes off on Twitter having the access to the nuclear codes? And that's because there's some deep insecurity in our country that they're willing to risk the livelihood of all of us in order to protect a false sense of security that does not exist in the first place. Because I need somebody in this place to know that your skin color does not give you privilege to rule over other people. And somebody needs to take that word to work, because this ain't just about institutional racism. This is also about individual racism. Because since he's come on the scene, some of these people will just say anything. They'll just try to do anything to you. And you need to let them know that your skin color is not a get out of jail free card. And you can't just say anything you want to say to me. I'm being real right now. I'm in the text though. Because Pharaoh has a short memory. Pharaoh, according to the Bible, doesn't remember Joseph. Joseph, the Hebrew, who was second in command of Egypt, who saved Egypt from the worst economic collapse it had seen in its lifetime. You read Genesis, didn't you? When Egypt was getting ready to go under because there was a famine in the land. And you can't forget that famine and drought are synonymous to economic depressions and recessions. So because when there are no cattle and there's no produce in the ground, then there's no money in the ground and there's no food in the land, which meant that Joseph saves Egypt from an economic collapse. And although Joseph saved the nation before, a new king came on the scene who could care less about the contributions and the investments of Joseph and Joseph's ancestors. I'm really not talking about Joseph right now, because I think that there's a new person who will occupy 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue who's ignorant to what people who look like you and I have contributed to this country. There's a king over Egypt who does not know Joseph. You know what I'm really trying to say here. There's a king in Washington, D.C. who does not know Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman, who does not know Ida B. Wells and Henry Highland Garnett, who does not know if it wasn't for black people, we wouldn't have an iron, we wouldn't have an ironing board, we wouldn't have a refrigerator, we wouldn't have a traffic light, we wouldn't have the broom, we wouldn't have the gas mask. There's a king in Egypt who does not know Joseph, because you better understand that it's because of Martin Luther King Jr. and Adam Clayton Powell and Shirley Chisholm and Medgar Evers and Rosa Parks that this country didn't get destroyed in the 1960s. And he better remember that there's some people in this country who contributed, although they don't look like him, although they don't talk like him, because all of us can't get $1 million to start our business that we end up bankrupting and bankrupt an entire city with bad casinos and bad real estate. We need a king who knows about the ancestors who got us this far. There's a king who did not know Joseph. And here's this king with his ignorance and his insecurities. He feels he needs to control the Israelites. Otherwise, they're going to mess up this country. Otherwise, they're going to destroy this country. And he calls this no boys left behind policy, because he says whenever the boys come out of the womb, kill them before they come to life, so that the boys will not overpopulate our community. He practices a politics of fear as a response to the progress of black and brown people, of Hebrew people. And that's really what this last election was about. It was an election about reducing the progress of black and brown people, because our jobs were getting too secure, our political authority was showing up, our children were graduating at higher rates. There were young children who were walking around with their chest poked out because all they knew was a black president, and they said, we got to do something about that, because they're getting beyond themselves. And so here is Pharaoh wanting to do a genocide against these Hebrew people. And let me be clear, child of God, although we might not go back to slavery, I don't want you to think that being under control is not a real thing. You do know the prison industrial complex has over 2 million people who are in prison, and half of them look like me, and another 2/4 of them look like brown people, and only a few of them are actually of the majority community. That sounds a lot like enslavement to me, because slavery by another name is still slavery. And I need somebody in this place to know that when all the other stocks were crashing when he was elected, you know what stock kept on rising? Prison stock kept on rising, which means that people who have money in prison understand Donald Trump is a tough on crime president, a law and order president, which is code language for lock Negroes up president. And I need somebody in this building to understand that this was a white backlash to black progress. Should I say that again? This was a white backlash to black progress. This was a white backlash to black progress. Now, why am I saying that? Because how do you lose with Latinos, lose with millennials, lose with black folk, lose with Asians, and still win the presidency unless a whole bunch of white folk come together and say we need to take our country back? This was a white backlash to black progress. Now, all white people ain't bad. Y'all know that's not what I'm saying. But what I am telling you is 53% of white women voted for him, and 64% of white men voted for him. And if you can vote for him, then that means you believe something about what he has to say. I'm trying to move, Charles, but this was a white backlash to black progress, and that's what happens in our text. Pharaoh indicts the Hebrews not for causing insurrections, not for being lazy, not for being undereducated. Pharaoh has a problem with the Hebrews because they're too smart, they're too strong, they're too united, and here it is. This was an Egyptian backlash to Hebrew progress, an Egyptian backlash to Hebrew progress. But I hate to disabuse you of this, but this wasn't the last time the majority group decided to take back its country from a minority group. The Egyptians did it to the Hebrews, but it's also been happening in America. We can trace all throughout history where there's black progress and then white backlash. You know, we were in slavery for 246 years, and then Reconstruction came, and when Reconstruction came, we saw all types of progress, political progress, economic progress. We got black governors, we got black legislators, we opened up more black schools, we opened up black businesses. But however, after 12 years of Reconstruction, there was a white backlash to black progress, because after Reconstruction, the KKK was founded, lynching started happening, the creation of the prison industrial complex that we know today started happening. That's white backlash to black progress. We were too free, so Plessy versus Ferguson made it
illegal to be separate and unequal. Black Wall Street was bombed by a militia because it was black progress that was met with white backlash. In the civil rights era, when we started doing the real D's in this country, Brown v. Board of Education, desegregated public spaces, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, that was a serious season of black progress that was met by white backlash, because in 1965 Malcolm was killed, in 1968 Martin was killed, in 1968 Robert F. Kennedy was killed. That was a white backlash to black progress. What else happened in 1968? Richard Nixon was elected to be the president on the Law and Order platform, which was not the Negro platform, because that was a white backlash to black progress. That's what they call the Southern Strategy, was created out of a white backlash to black progress. In 2008, Barack Hussein Obama was elected the 44th president and the first black president of the U.S., and we saw some great gains in those first 4 years. But guess what? In 2012, the Tea Party got stronger, and that was a white backlash to black progress. And police brutality escalated, the racial chasm deepened, because that was a white backlash to black progress. And then they put a cherry on it when on Tuesday they elected a man who does not know anything about government or governing, and now he's the president of the United States, because it was a white backlash to black progress. That's what we saw. It was a white backlash to black progress. Not only do insecurities increase injustices, but you need an incessant identity in spite of injuries. Incessant identity in spite of injuries, which means you need to stay committed to who you are in spite of what's done to you. Can I say that again? Because I felt like I was talking to some people who knew who they were. I thought I was talking to some people who understand that I don't just come from my grandma and grandpa, but I come from the womb of God. And because I come from the womb of God, I'm in relationship with the one who can transform my bad situation into beauty and into power. Do you know who you are? Child of God, I know it's bad out here. I know you're afraid. You might be afraid of the political insecurity, the economic instability, and the social unrest that might ensue on January 20th when he is inaugurated the president. But I need you to understand one thing, and understand it very clear. He might have a position, but he does not have power unless it comes from God. Can I say that again? Pharaoh had a position, but Moses had the power. Nebuchadnezzar had the position, but the 3 Hebrew men had the power. Pontius Pilate had the position, but Jesus had the power. I want to talk to some folks in here today that says, I'm with the one that has power. Yeah, he might have the position, but he doesn't have power. And since he doesn't have the power, he can't turn me into who he wants me to be. He can legislate what he wants to legislate, but I'll still be powerful. He can underfund whatever he wants to underfund, but I'll still be powerful. He can take away my health insurance, but I'll still find a way to get the care I need, because I'm a child of the covenant. I'm a child of the Most High God. Am I talking to anybody in this place today? The Bible says that the more they tried to oppress the Israelites, the stronger they got, and the larger they got. Did y'all hear what the Bible just told y'all? The more they oppressed them, the stronger they got, and the larger they got. the more they tried to oppress them, the stronger they got, and the larger they got. And I need somebody in this place to understand that even though we live under a constitution that told us we were 3/5 human beings, there's a covenant with God that is bigger than the Constitution. And if God says we are fearfully and wonderfully made, then I believe I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. If God says no weapon formed against me shall prosper, I still believe that no weapon formed against me shall prosper. I thank God for the Constitution, but there's a covenant that's higher than the Constitution. And can I tell you how I see this in this text? Because the more they oppressed them, the larger they got. Because although they were living under Pharaoh's power, under Pharaoh's authority, they were still the children of Abraham. And remember, God promised Abraham that I'm going to expand your seed and I'm going to make your name great. Which means while they were in oppression, God was still working it out. Don't miss this now. Although God was not responsible for the oppression, the same way God had nothing to do with the ascendancy of a Donald Trump. That was ignorant people that put Donald Trump in office. That has nothing to do with the will of God. But I'm talking about when you live under the covenant, the promise of God, then you learn that God can recycle your pain into possibilities. That although they're trying to kill you, the stuff that was supposed to kill you somehow makes you stronger. Am I talking to anybody in here tonight? The more they oppress them, the stronger they got. And I need to talk to some people in the room today that can say, I'm a descendant of people who survived worse than Donald Trump. I'm a descendant of people who survived the auction block and the chain gang and survived swinging from a tree like strange fruit. I wish somebody knew who they were. You are a descendant of Joseph, which means you need to get Joseph's testimony. That's what happens to them. That although they're in bondage, their bondage does not get inside of them. Because the more they oppress them, the stronger they got. And I need you to understand this. As long as you don't allow yourself to be brainwashed by what happens in this country in the next 4 years, we're going to be all right. That's what Kendrick Lamar teaches us. We're going to be all right. As long as you don't let what they say about you to affect what you say about yourself, because you do know there's a difference between being a slave and being enslaved. To be a slave means that you allow yourself to become what you do, but when you're enslaved, you can still be yourself in spite of what people try to do to you and place over you. And I hope I'm looking at a room full of people who can say, you might enslave me, but I'll never be a slave. Am I talking to people like that? That can say, I have a mentality that's bigger and stronger than what anybody could ever say against me. If you think your communities are the only bad communities, that's because you're a slave. If you think that your children don't have the same potential and promise as other people's children, that's because you're a slave. If you think that Donald Trump deserves to be president because he's a male with money, then you're still a slave. But I don't want to worship with slaves today. I want to worship with the people who can say, even in the midst of hell, I know how to find heaven. Even in the midst of pain, I know how to find beauty. Why am I saying that to you? Because they come from Joseph. The Israelites come from Joseph. And you remember Joseph's testimony. What you meant for evil, God worked it out for my good. I feel like I need to say that again. What they meant for evil, your God worked it out for your good. That doesn't mean God was responsible for it. That means God intercepted it and recycled it. Can I get a witness in here today that can say, I thank God that he can recycle my pain into promise. He can recycle my depression into deliverance. He can recycle my hurt into help. He can recycle my rejection into redemption. Because God will work it out. When they meant it for evil, God will work it out for your good. But I still believe that all things work together for them who are called according to the Lord and who love him. I gotta close, y'all, but I thank God today that I know who I am, and no politics policy can wrap up my identity. No legislator can determine who I am, because I'm a child of the Most High God. I'm black and I'm proud. I'm brown and I'm proud. You can be white and proud. You can be Asian and proud. You can be Native American and proud. As long as you know your power comes from the Most High God. Can I get a witness in here today? Is there anybody in the building today that can say, I'm not going to be brainwashed? Because the more they try to oppress them, the stronger they got, the larger they got. And I need somebody in the building today that say the more they try to shoot us down in the street, the more we'll come together. The more they try to hire us last and fire us first, we're going to keep on coming together. When they want to deport our Latino brothers and sisters as if they are animals, we gonna come together and let them know we're not going down like that. And I have a feeling you have some enemies in your own life that you need to let know. I've been through abuse long enough. I've been through rejection long enough. I've been through pain long enough. I've been through your gossip long enough. I've been through your hell long enough. But I know who I am. And I'm a child of the omnipotent one. I'm a child of the omnipresent one. I'm the child of the omnigracious one. Can I get a witness in this place today? I got to close down for my last point, and I need you to take it seriously. Because if we're going to survive this take back, then we need insubordination that inspires innovation. Insubordination that inspires innovation. When Pharaoh goes to those midwives, the midwives, they disrespect his law because they say, although it's the law, it doesn't make sense to me and God. And sometimes you got to learn to get out in the streets and say, I don't care what you say the law is. If it's a threat to justice anywhere, it's a threat to justice everywhere. Is there anybody in the building today? I thank God that in the midst of death, God has called me to be a midwife. In the midst of death, God is calling me to help you give birth. Are there any midwives in the house today that can say, I see too much possibility. I understand too much about my life for me to give in to the politics of destruction because I'm walking in the authority of God. You know, that's what those midwives did. They rejected Pharaoh because they were enraptured with God. And I want to stand with some people today that can say, I love and I know too much about God for you to dictate who I am and how I minister. I want to talk to some midwives in here today that can say, I'm giving birth to stuff that needs to come to life. I know they want to kill me, but I'm giving birth because God's put too much in me for me to keep it to myself. And I get a witness now that for the rest of your life, you're going to be a midwife and help somebody give birth to dreams and give birth to hope and give birth to joy and give birth to life and give birth to tomorrow. Are there any midwives in here today that can say they might have taken the country back, but they can't take my life and they can't take my joy and they can't take my hope and they can't steal my dreams? Can I talk to some midwives that can say the more they fight me, the more I deliver, the more they come against me, the more I push. You know, that's the testimony of a midwife. All they say is push. It might hurt, but you have to push. It might be bloody, but you have to push. It might be a long time, but you have to push. Can I get some pushers in here today? Second day, I'm pushing through pain. I'm pushing through setback. I'm pushing through hurt. I'm pushing through poverty. I'm pushing through death. I'm pushing through cancer. I'm pushing through diabetes. Because I was born to make you push. Can I get a witness today for some people who are saying it's time to deliver. It's time to give birth. This is the waiting room. And we're getting ready to give birth to a new America where everybody's loved, where everybody's strong. We're going to give birth to a new life where you because I know who I am. And I get a witness for somebody push in this place today. You gotta push your way into deliverance and push your way into healing and push your way into tomorrow. We only make a way for you. We only open doors for you. We only provide for you. Say yes. Say yes. I'm pushing all the way to my deliverance. I'm pushing all the way to my freedom. I'm pushing all the way to my breakthrough. Because no weapon formed against me shall prosper. Because I'm pushing. I don't know how long it's gonna take, but I got labor pains because I'm getting ready to give birth. Somebody shout yes. Somebody shout yes. Glory. Glory. Somebody give birth. My eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. Push. His truth is marching on. Walk together, children. Don't you get weary. Push. There's a great man needed on the other side. Yes. Yes. Before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave. Push. Going home to be with God. Shout yes. Shout yes. Shout yes. Somebody on here push. Somebody on here, I'm pushing. I'm pushing. I'm pushing. I'm pushing. If God be for me, who can be against me? Push. 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 What can wash away my sins? Nothing but the blood of Jesus. Push. It reaches to the highest mountain. It flows to the lowest Amen. Come on, the doors of the church are open.